F.
Mm-hmm. It promises a look at what they're calling an elevated selling experience, principles and strategies.
Exactly. So for you, the learner,
Mm-hmm.
listening in, wanting to get up to speed on something thoroughly, but, without spending weeks on it, this is perfect.
We're aiming to boil down the core ideas from this guide, give you a solid grasp of how to approach selling strategically, maybe with a bit more sophistication.
Our goal. Unpack the philosophy, the practical stuff in here. What makes this approach different? Is it really more than just, a transaction?
We want to see if it lives up to that elevated claim.
And guiding you through this are, well, us. I'm here asking the questions, connecting the pieces.
And I'm here bringing that hopefully insightful perspective, trying to get at the why behind the what.
Okay, let's get into it.
So the guide kicks off with this tagline, legacy leveled up. And it's interesting to think about what that actually means.
Right. It's not just marketing speak, you think?
It seems to represent their core philosophy, legacy. What do you think that implies?
To me, it sounds like honoring the house itself, its history, its value, maybe the life lived there. It's more than just, lumber and drywall.
That's exactly how I read it. Recognizing that inherent worth. And then leveled up, that seems pretty clear.
Modern techniques, strategy, marketing.
Yeah, all of that. Bringing in the latest strategies, the best marketing, constantly improving the process. But it's a mix, The guide emphasizes blending these modern tools with traditional values, things like integrity, relationships, market knowledge.
So it's not tech over touch. They're keeping the human element.
Very much so.
Yeah.
The guide really highlights Jack Wallace's commitment serving people well, no matter the price point of the house.
Okay. An ethical foundation, it sounds like.
That seems to be the message. Client first.
Okay, that sets the stage for the philosophy. But who is Jack Wallace? What's his background that makes this guide, well, credible?
This is where it gets quite interesting. He brings a really unique blend of experience over 4 decades.
4 decades in what? Just real estate?
Real estate, yes, but also design. And he's deeply connected to the Tulsa community, apparently. His background's pretty layered.
The guide mentions he's the son of a builder. That feels significant.
Doesn't it? Imagine growing up seeing houses built, understanding the bones of a place. That gives you a different perspective on quality, on construction.
For sure. And then the design part, Charles Fawdry is mentioned. That's a big name in design.
A very big name. So Wallace worked with him, honed his design skills there. That artistic side is key to his approach.
So wait, he started in interior design before real estate?
That's right. Unusual path. And that design background, according to the guide, is crucial.
How so?
It talks about him having an artist's eye plus a strategist's mind. So he can see the potential aesthetically, but also knows how to market it.
That's quite a combo. The guide says he helps sellers visualize potential, helps with staging, even renovations.
Yeah, it seems he goes beyond just listing. He can offer real design advice, suggest furniture layouts, point out cost-effective upgrades buyers will actually respond to.
Okay, that's a lot of individual expertise. Now, the guide also talks about the Chinoth & Cohen advantage. What's that connection?
Right, Chinoth & Cohen Realtors. That's the brokerage he's with. And they're notable, too.
How so? What do they bring?
Well, they're described as locally owned, deep Tulsa roots, but with a surprisingly wide reach. A global network, actually.
Local and global. How does that work?
They have, I think it says, 14 offices, over 700 associates just in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So they know the local market inside out.
Okay, strong local presence.
But then they have these affiliations, who's who in luxury real estate, leading real estate companies of the world. That gives them international exposure.
So listing a house in Tulsa could potentially reach someone moving from London or Singapore?
That's the idea. It's especially important for luxury properties, right? And they have their own in-house marketing department. That's a big plus.
So not just relying on the agent's own efforts.
Exactly. Professional photographers, videographers, nice brochures, digital campaigns. The whole package. The guide mentions their branding, Oklahoma's real estate elite.
Sounds high-end. Does it translate to results?
Well, the guide cites over $2 billion in sales in 2020, dominant in the local luxury market. So yeah, the numbers seem to be there.
Okay, so it's the individual's expertise plus the brokerage's muscle.
That's the synergy they're highlighting. You get Jack's unique skills backed by a powerful firm.
All right, philosophy, expertise, brokerage support. Got it. Let's get practical. Selling the house, pricing. How do they approach that?
This is absolutely central in the guide. Big emphasis on pricing precisely, using data, not just, gut feelings or what the neighbor got.
So the comparative market analysis, the CMA, we hear that term a lot. What makes their CMA different, according to this?
Well, one key thing they seem to stress is looking beyond just the final sale price of comps. You really need to look at how long those homes were on the market.
Days on market, right?
Yeah, and did they have price drops? What was the final price compared to the original list price? Those details tell a story about the market right now.
Makes sense. A quick sale at asking price means one thing, lots of cuts means something else entirely. And the goal is avoiding that stale listing problem.
Exactly. The guide mentions properties sitting for, say, 60 days or more, often sell for maybe 5% less than they were first listed for. Ouch.
So getting it right up front is key.
Crucial. And they talk about knowing the nuances of the local market. Tulsa isn't just one market, right?
No, Midtown is very different from South Tulsa or Jenks.
Precisely. Historic homes versus new builds, different school districts, amenities, that all gets factored into their pricing strategy. It's very localized.
So data-driven, localized.
Mm-hmm.
And is it a one-time thing? Set the price and hope?
No. The guide stresses ongoing monitoring, watching online views, tracking, showing feedback, keeping an eye on what else is happening in the market.
And being ready to adjust if needed.
Yeah, strategically adjust, always aiming to protect the seller's equity, of course.
Okay, house looks great, priced right. Now, finding the buyer. How does the guide talk about understanding buyer psychology?
This part I found pretty insightful. They really focus on identifying the ideal audience for a specific home.
Meaning not every house is for every buyer.
Exactly. Obvious when you think about it, but they make it strategic. A big suburban house isn't for the downtown loft person and vice versa.
Right.
So they talk about creating buyer personas. Maybe it's an executive family needing great schools, or young professionals wanting walkability, or retirees looking for single-level living.
And then you tailor the marketing.
Precisely. You highlight the features that specific group cares most about. For the family, you push the schools, the big yard, the playroom.
The downtown condo, maybe the nightlife, the low maintenance, the views.
Exactly that. The goal is creating an emotional connection, helping buyers see themselves in that house, living that life.
It's about selling the lifestyle, not just the square footage, crafting a story they connect with.
Yeah, the guide calls it strategic empathy. Understanding what makes the target buyer tick emotionally and showing them how this house delivers.
Okay, you know who you're talking to. Now, how do you make the house itself speak to them? Let's talk about prepping the property.
This is presented as absolutely critical, the grand debut, they call it. It covers upgrades, repairs, and especially staging.
And this is where Jack's design background comes in again, right?
Yeah.
The guide says he personally helps with staging.
It does. That seems like a huge benefit. Having a designer's eye look at your space, suggest layouts, create focal points, that's valuable.
Can you give an example from the guide?
Yeah, things like setting the dining table beautifully to suggest great dinner parties, or putting cozy chairs on the patio to evoke relaxing evenings outside. It's about creating these little scenes, these lifestyle vignettes.
Making it aspirational, not just functional.
Exactly. Showing the potential lifestyle. Don't just show furniture. Show how life could be lived there. Like a staged breakfast nook, maybe?
And there are stats about staging's impact, too.
Yeah. They cite the National Association of Realtors. Something like 81% of buyers find it easier to visualize a staged home as their own. And agents think it can boost offers by 1 to 5%, sometimes more.
That's significant money.
It is. Other studies suggest staged homes might sell for 6 to 20% more, so it's an investment, potentially with a good return.
What about actual improvements, like renovations?
The focus there seems to be on smart, cost-effective things, maybe refinishing floors, updating kitchen hardware, definitely curb appeal, things that give you bang for your buck without a massive overhaul.
Targeted upgrades. And they use that phrase, storytelling through presentation. What does that mean in practice?
It's about weaving the home's narrative into how it looks. If it's an old house, maybe you highlight original details, use some period-appropriate decor in the staging.
And for a modern place?
You create that sleek, clean, maybe luxurious vibe. Every little choice art, books on a shelf, a vase of flowers, adds to the story you're telling the buyer.
Okay, the stage is set, literally. Now, getting the word out.
Yeah.
The marketing strategy. How do they amplify that story?
They approach marketing like launching a premium product. Everything matters. The words, the pictures, where you advertise, it all has to work together to grab that target buyer emotionally.
So not just 3-bed, 2-bath, nice yard.
Definitely not. It's about creating a narrative. The guide gives this great example opening line. On Sunday mornings, sunlight dances across the original hardwood floors. You can picture it instantly.
Evocative language. Emotional connection.
That's the goal. Using descriptive words and, crucially, amazing visuals. Professional photos are baseline, but they also talk about drone shots.
Oh, right, to show the whole property, the neighborhood.
Exactly. And twilight photos, those always look dramatic. Video tours, 3D walkthroughs, especially for higher-end listings, make that first online impression stunning.
Like flipping through a fancy magazine. Where do they push this content out? Just the usual websites?
It's multi-channel. Yes, the MLS, that's the main agent database, and the big portals like Zillow, Realtor.com, but also social media.
Facebook, Instagram.
Yep, for broad reach. Maybe even LinkedIn for executive types who might be relocating. Targeted emails to their own database of buyers, and potentially print ads or broker events for certain properties.
Wow, that's comprehensive. Covering all the bases.
Yeah.
And always trying to strike that emotional resonance.
That's the term they use. They want buyers to feel something when they see the listing. Excitement, aspiration, like, wow, this could be it. Using words like luxurious, impeccable, legacy, but backing it up with the facts too. Appeal to heart and head.
Okay, marketing's running. People are viewing the house. What's the typical timeline look like from listing to closing in their model?
The guide lays out 8 key stages, a roadmap. And it emphasizes Jack's guidance throughout. It starts naturally with the initial consult goals, timing, first look at the market.
Then setting the price and signing a listing agreement, formalizing things.
Correct. Then stage 3 is preparing the home staging, repairs, getting those professional photos and videos done. Stage 4 is launch day, hitting the MLS, rolling out the marketing.
Okay, it's live. What's next?
Stage 5, showings and open houses. Coordinating all that, getting feedback from buyers and agents, very important step.
Absolutely. And then the exciting part, stage 6, offers.
Right. Receiving offers, evaluating them, not just the price, but all the terms, the contingencies, and then the negotiation.
And the guide points out that agents often get higher prices than selling by owner.
Yeah, they mention that statistic, often attributed to negotiation skill and market knowledge. It's a key value proposition.
Makes sense. So offer accepted. What are the last steps?
Stage 7 is contract to closing, managing inspections, appraisals, title work, all the hurdles, keeping things on track. Stage 8 is the closing itself, signing papers, handing over keys, done.
Phew. And they do say timelines vary, right?
Oh, absolutely. Every sale is different. But the point is having an experienced guide to navigate whatever comes up.
That structured approach sounds reassuring.
It's meant to. A guided journey, as they put it.
Now, you mentioned negotiation under the timeline, but the guide has a whole section on negotiation and closing, protecting your equity. Why the extra focus there?
Because really, this is where a great agent earns their commission, isn't it? It's crunch time. The guide stresses Jack's deep experience here. He's seen it all, basically.
Multiple offers, tough repair requests, appraisal issues.
Exactly. Having navigated all those scenarios before is a huge advantage for the seller. His experience directly protects their bottom line.
It's not just about arguing price, though.
No, far from it. The guide describes his style as firm, but also creative and ethical, using facts, market data to support the seller's position, and looking beyond price to things like closing dates, contingencies, ensuring the terms are favorable too.
Protecting the seller's interests holistically.
That's the idea. Minimizing risk, maximizing return, not just the highest price, but the best deal overall.
And the closing process itself can be tricky, lots of moving parts.
For sure. The guide talks about his proactive approach, managing the timeline, coordinating with lenders, title companies, making sure everything happens smoothly, and potential problems get nipped in the bud.
Aiming for a smooth landing, essentially.
Yeah.
Maximum profit, minimum hassle. Sounds ideal.
That's definitely the goal they outline. And it doesn't just end there. The guide finishes with a section called Next Chapter, Continued Support After the Sale.
Oh, so the relationship doesn't stop at closing.
Apparently not. They emphasize building long-term relationships. Jack positions himself as a resource for the future.
For what? Like, if you need advice later?
Yeah, advice on future buying or selling, referrals to contractors or designers, maybe just answering questions about the market down the road.
Ah, the client for life idea.
Exactly that. Fostering trust that lasts. They even mention practical things like recommending good movers or local service providers.
So it ties back to that legacy leveled up idea. Again, it's a long-term commitment.
It seems to be. Supporting the client's whole real estate journey, not just one transaction.
Okay, so wrapping it all up, it's a comprehensive approach. Starts with understanding the home's unique value, its legacy.
Mixes that with modern marketing, data-driven pricing, expert negotiation.
All delivered with a strong focus on client service and building a relationship that lasts beyond the sale.
That sums it up well. The guide paints a picture of a very strategic, very service-oriented process, aiming for that elevated experience.
And hopefully for you, our listener, our learner, this deep dive has given you that quick but solid understanding of what's in the Jack Wallace Seller Guide. A shortcut, maybe, to grasping how this legacy leveled up approach works.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to ponder. Thinking about your own home, or maybe future homes, what does legacy mean to you?
How do you honor the story of a place while also looking ahead to its next chapter and yours?
Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought. And remember, if you have sources you want us to explore, send them over. We're always ready for the next deep dive.